and Jake got to fight a fucking legend and check that off his resume. But I was a little like personally offended that he hit Jake. I thought Jake was going to give him a little more than he did, but like maybe Jake was trying to spare him, and that's very nice.
Thoughts on this Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight?
Oh geez, I don't. It's a bit strange. You know, is my interest? The interest is a low one. I don't know.
Celebrities across all walks of life, including NBA, Hollywood, media, politics, and business, were never going to miss out on a chance to see Iron Mike Tyson return to the ring, regardless of who the opponent was or how the fight was going to go. Sadly, many of them ended up being disappointed after the fight turned out to be scripted, going across several social media platforms to air their frustrations, with some going as far as going on live to fire shots at the fighters and their scripted fight.
Now, everyone is talking about how staged this fight was. I do believe it was scripted, and I believe that Tyson was certainly held back. Look, I'm a fighter, and I can see it. It goes on the record, and it was sanctioned.
Former world champion and boxing promoter Oscar De La Hoya put aside his traditional attacks on Saul Canelo Alvarez and instead preferred to talk about the controversial fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Suffice to say, the legendary boxer turned major promoter was not impressed with boxing's latest mega event. Mike Tyson's less than impressive brawl last week against social media star turned boxer Jake Paul. In fact, De La Hoya made it clear that the bout was an exercise in utility.
What are you going to do to Gronk? What's going to happen? I need y'all back away.
In his podcast, The Thursday Clapback, De La Hoya spoke about an event that broke all audience records, in which Tyson took home a total of $20 million, compared to $40 million for Jake Paul.
All right, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul was by its nature a horrible fight. Right from the start. It was just awful. Mike almost fell down during his walkout.
However, the fight was far from the spectacular one that everyone expected, with a Tyson seriously affected by his 58 years of age, while Paul indulged the boxing legend and only got through the fight without seeking to do any major damage to his opponent. Despite everything that has been said about the event that took place last Friday at the Atant Stadium, for the Golden Boy, there were two winners that day.
And he was on quicksand since the first 10 seconds of the fight. Oh, and did you see that 58-year-old ass? It was wishful thinking for all those idiots.
The pre-main event was a world title fight between two women, Ireland's Katie Taylor and Puerto Rico's Amanda Serrano, who staged a close fight that gave much to talk about for the intensity and quality of both boxers. Mike Tyson against Jake Paul was by nature a horrible fight. Now everyone talks about how organized this fight was. I think it was scripted and I think Tyson was certainly held back, said Oscar De La Hoya, who said that from his experience it was easy for him to distinguish the anomaly. Mike almost fell down during his walk-up and he was on quicksand for the first 10 seconds of the fight. Oh, and did you see that 58-year-old ass? De La Hoya moved on to discussing a serious matter regarding the bout.
Those idiots who thought they were going to get Mike Tyson of the 90s come out and rip somebody's head off.
Now everybody is talking about how staged this fight was. I do believe it was scripted, and I believe that Tyson was certainly held back. A bold thing to say, but the former pound-for-pound great seemed to believe what he was saying. Look, he said, I'm a fighter and I can see it. It goes on their record and it was sanctioned. Jake Paul paid to get the W on his record. For what? For your own personal satisfaction? I keep telling you, if you want to be a real fighter like you say you want to be, what are you doing? Who's next? Joe Biden? You have to fight real fighters. De La Hoya went on to compare the sport of boxing to a hibernating bear. Boxing has been in hibernation, he said.
So Jake Paul paid to get the W on his record? For what? For your own personal satisfaction?
It's like a sleeping bear. Boxing has been the most popular sport since the beginning of time. Lately, it's been Mayweather versus McGregor, who fought in the ring, not the octagon, because boxing is king. As far as De La Hoya was concerned, boxing can live up to expectations if fighters would simply square off. We have to get our shit together, De La Hoya said. Fighters are not daring to be great and we are stuck accepting mediocre fights. It's an assertion most serious boxing fans would likely agree with. Still, there was one positive that De La Hoya found on the Tyson-Jake card.
I'm telling you, if you want to be a real fighter, like you say you want to be, What are you doing?
Shit, I don't even know.
Like, who's next? Joe Biden? You have to fight real fighters.
God, please, no!
However, the fight drew 65 million households.
In contrast to the poor fight between Paul and Tyson, De La Hoya said that Taylor and Serrano were the real winners of the night's event, as they gave a fight that was decided by decision and put all the attendees at the Cowboys Stadium on the edge of their seats by the enormous dedication of both fighters. That fight put the two women in a position where they surely gained many followers, to the point that several users on DAZN, the streaming service on which the event was broadcast, pointed out that, for the quality of the fight between Taylor and Serrano, that fight should have been the main fight of the event. The fight drew 65 million households, he said, which means roughly 200 million eyeballs were watching, and the huge winners were Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, who put on an incredible, real fight and were introduced to new fans around the world.
Boxing has been in hibernation. It's like a sleeping bear. Boxing has been the most popular sport since the beginning of time.
I think Christy Taylor and Amanda Serrano were the real winners of the night because they did give a real fight, which made everyone look at their careers, and if there is another rematch, everyone is going to want to see that fight, added De La Hoya. Taylor and Serrano had already fought in 2022 at Madison Square Garden, and like their fight a week ago, the two fighters put on a great show in a fight that ended with much controversy.
Fighters are not daring to be great, and we are stuck accepting mediocre fights.
Come on, man.
Look, being a fighter and now a promoter,
The fight between the two on April 15th ended in the same way, wrapped in controversy due to the constant headbutts between the two fighters that caused a huge cut on the eyelid of the Puerto Rican, who after the fight accused Taylor of being a dirty fighter, although she later retracted. Should have been the main event. One of the many people who went into the fight with a dream of Mike Tyson laying Jake Paul out on the canvas like he did to other boxers in his heyday was American podcaster and UFC commentator Joe Rogan, who had this to say before the fight began on X.
Pre-fight, Joe Rogan said, "I'm getting ready to watch this Tyson versus Jake Paul fight like I'm watching someone cast a spell that I hope actually works. And I don't really believe in magic, but I want to believe."
I'm getting ready to watch this Tyson versus Jake Paul fight like I'm watching someone cast a spell that I hope actually works. And I don't really believe in magic, but I want to believe. The problem child, Jake Paul, has taken to social media to send an official fight contract to UFC star Conor McGregor. Of course, his thoughts on the existence of magic proved to be correct, as instead of the dream career ending, Rogan instead had to see one of the greatest boxers of all time struggle through a farce of a fight, following his original tweet with 3 very simple words, which made his feelings on the fight very clear. Magic isn't real.
Responding to himself saying, "I guess magic isn't real."
Like many other fans of Tyson, Rogan was hoping that the legendary boxer could somehow pull out a victory over Paul. He ended up being disappointed with the result. Tyson made a career for himself as being one of the most powerful fighters in the world, and he constantly defied expectations along the way. However, even this was too tall of a task for him, as he simply did not have the stamina to go toe-to-toe with Paul for a full 8 rounds. There were a bevy of fans on the same boat Rogan, who were hoping to see one last magical moment from Tyson before he rode off into the sunset. But unfortunately, that magical moment was nowhere to be found, and it resulted in a cakewalk of a victory for Paul.
At any point, did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Despite the presumption that this would be it for Tyson, he refused to officially retire from the ring in the immediate aftermath of this fight, saying that he could see himself returning to boxing in the future, despite how he fared against Paul. So who knows, maybe that magical moment Rogan was looking for does exist, but simply hasn't come to fruition yet. As a result, Tyson will be worth keeping an eye on, as another match could be in his future, even with this loss on his record now. Joe Rogan had been one of the most outspoken combat sport professionals ahead of the fight, seriously rooting for a Mike Tyson victory.
Dude, he's perfectly capable of knocking him out.
He is perfectly capable. If he zigs when he should have zagged, if Mike can close the distance in a way that he doesn't expect, and Mike also has layers upon layers of attacks that are in his mind.
However, he didn't completely rule out Jake Paul despite his desire for a Tyson victory. Rogan had earlier questioned why people often underestimate Jake Paul, and instead advised them to forget him as a YouTuber and perceive him like they would perceive regular boxers. No, I mean, people can take something away from them because they're YouTube people. I always tell people just forget that Jake Paul is a YouTube guy and watch him box. Yeah, the kid can fight 100%.
Mixed martial arts. And Rafael is a world-renowned trainer. When you see him holding the mitts for Tyson, and Tyson smashing the mitts, like, Jesus.
Yeah,
that guy can still fuck you up.
He don't want to fight Mike.
Rogan went ahead to highlight moments from Paul's fight against Tommy Fury as evidence of Paul's boxing ability, and that Tommy Fury fight really showed that. I mean, it goes to a split decision against a legit undefeated boxer. While he had a big question to ask from Jake Paul as to why he chose to fight the monstrous Tyson, he spoke about Tyson's unbelievable magnificence in the boxing ring and believed he was still as potent.
If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition. He's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson. Like, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm talking, it's still at 55.
He approached the 31-year difference between the pair like it was nothing and boasted about Tyson's training intensity like a trainer would do to his trainee. No, why? I don't care if he's 55. That's still Mike Tyson. Mike's in good shape. Mike trains every day. He trains with Rafael Cordeiro, who's a legend in MMA. He runs King's Mixed Martial Arts. Rogan had nothing but praises for Mike Tyson as well as his trainer, Rafael Cordeiro, who he referred to as a MMA legend and renowned trainer.
The power is the last thing to go, but the thing is the speed is still there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he did with, look at that, seriously. I don't know what he did with Roy Jones Jr., but in my mind, it looked like they made some sort of an agreement where Mike wasn't going to punch him in the face. It's like...
And Rafael is a world-renowned trainer. When you see him holding the mitts for Tyson and Tyson smashing the mitts like Jesus, that guy can still knock you out. Talking to Mike Tyson just after he saw the sparring footage with Rafael Cordeiro, Joe Rogan told him, "But that's what I was seeing when I saw you hit the pads. I'm like, this isn't just working out. There was something going on, man. When you were working out with Cordeiro and you were ripping to the body and throwing those hooks, I was like, this is a man who is preparing to go into combat. This is not normal getting ready to work out stuff. That's why when I saw that video, I was like, oh,
mind-boggling. Well, that's what I was seeing when I was seeing you hit the pads. I'm like, this isn't just working out. There was something going on, man. When you were working out with Cordeiro and you were ripping to the body and throwing those hooks, I was like, this is a man who's preparing to go to combat. This is not normal.
He also referenced Mike Tyson's last fight 4 years ago against Roy Jones Jr. He stated that the technology for recovery used by Mike and his team were sublime, and these technological tools would likely be at his disposal once again. With the additional impact of technology, Rogan tipped Mike for a routine victory. In this world with hormone replacement and vitamins and healing, and he does all this like electrical, muscular stimulation recovery stuff. When they were training Mike for that Roy Jones fight, like they produced state-of-the-art science. Like, I don't care if he's 55 years old, that guy will hurt you.
There's not a fucking chance in hell that Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier. You ever watch that fight?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Mike Tyson fight, because that was Mike Tyson before he won the title. It was ABC Wide World of Sports, and Joe...
Funnily, Rogan held Mike Tyson in so much high regard that he felt Jake Paul might get starstruck when he sees him in the ring and really wakes to the reality that he's taking on Mike Tyson. If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weave it, he's going to have a recognition, yeah. He's going to look over and God, that's really Mike Tyson. Rogan also looked back at Mike Tyson's match against Roy Jones Jr., sharing his sentiment that he felt an agreement held Tyson back from hitting Jones in the face. Evidently, most of Tyson's punches, except a few, were aimed at Jones's body.
Frazier had been talking shit about Tyson, that if he was in his prime, he'd beat Tyson. And so he had his son fight Tyson, and it was an execution. It was an execution.
Is that the one in Atlantic City where it lasted one round?
One round.
Look at this dude. I'm talking he's still at 55. At 55, the power is the last thing to go, but the speed is still there. I don't know what he did with Roy Jones Jr., but in my mind, it looked like they made some sort of agreement that Mike wasn't going to punch him in the face, because like most of the hits that he hit him with, unless it was a jab or something like that, was to the body, yeah.
he's a real fighter. He can fight. He can. And if Mike Tyson and him are fighting and Mike can't catch him, and Mike has bad knees, if his back's bad, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him physically. It's hard to tell from a guy just hitting pads. When he's hitting those pads, he looks great.
Speaking with actor Russell Crowe, Rogan weighed in on the fight between Paul and Tyson, along with the widespread concerns about Tyson taking this fight while nearing 60 years of age. 58 is 58. No matter what you're taking and what they're doing for you, you're still 58, Rogan said on a recent episode of his podcast. But 58-year-old Mike Tyson is not 50-year-old Mike Jones that lives down the street. It's a different kind of human being. He can still knock your head into another dimension if he can catch you. Broadcaster Piers praised Tyson's efforts and said the boxer has got the heart of a lion, balls of steel, and will always be an absolute legend. Boxer Tony Bellew didn't hold back in his criticism of Paul. Don't tune into him until he fights someone who is fit, healthy, and not a grandfather. Any proper boxing people helping Paul need to look at themselves, for heaven's sake. This is just sad. Irish boxer Michael Conlon said, "I'm just glad Tyson didn't get badly hurt. Credit to him at 58, doing the 8 rounds and making a ton of money. But that should never have happened. I suppose if it makes money, it makes sense. Jake is a smart businessman, no doubt, but that was sad." Miami Dolphins American football player Tyreek Hill wrote, "Mike made me get my Netflix account back for nothing. Love Mike Tyson. Always have, always will. But 58 is 58. Plus the legs just weren't there. Old is old. Thank God he didn't get knocked out. Now it's time for Jake Paul to get in the ring with a top 10 fighter. Or hell, a champion. No more b-ball players, strikers from MMA, or old men. It's time for Jake to get into a real fight. He's good enough. Make it happen." Among the fight's critics was UFC icon McGregor, who deleted a controversial reaction tweet after it garnered fierce backlash. After the final bell, McGregor wrote on X, "They are eyeing Pritchard Colon for their next opponent." Colon's story is one of boxing's biggest tragedies. During a fight against Terrell Williams in 2015, the American-Puerto Rican star was punched in the back of the head and later collapsed in his dressing room. The 32-year-old was left with life-changing injuries after entering a 221-day coma due to a brain hemorrhage. He remains in a vegetative state, receiving everyday care. One user labeled McGregor a fool bag for the swiftly deleted post. Elsewhere, other fighters reacted to Tyson's defeat.
I don't understand it.
Got it. Any difference between this one and...
I wish well for
Mike Tyson has earned both sympathy and criticism. WBC lightweight champion Gervonta Davis aimed fire at Paul, writing on Instagram, "To the bozo that shared the ring with Mike. You a whole bozo for this, and you didn't get the job done, foolhead." He also sent Iron Mike support, adding, "You will forever be a legend, whether you like it or not, and there will never be another one. And I understand you so well. All this stuff doesn't mean anything."
Thoughts on Tyson, Jake Paul. I actually have Mike Tyson's marijuana. I'm going to show love to Mike Tyson. Give us in the Mike Tyson kush.
Fellow boxing legend Terrence Crawford was less complimentary, slamming Tyson's hesitant performance. "I love Mike Tyson, but they give him too much credit. He looked like trash," Crawford wrote on X. "To train that long and only throw 97 punches the whole fight is crazy. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt out there." However, Most Valuable Promotions co-founder Nikisa Bedarian, the former CFO at the UFC, is bothered at accusations Jake Paul's fight on Friday the 15th of November against boxing legend Mike Tyson was nothing but a sham. Paul defeated Tyson by an 8-round decision in what was a sad spectacle in front of 70,000 people at a Tant Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Tyson started fast, but appeared gassed, even in the earlier rounds, and didn't even land a punch in 2 of the 8 frames. Paul told reporters later that he took it easy on Tyson.
Jake just beat Mike Tyson. What's going through your mind?
Just incredible, an amazing night. Historic for women's boxing, historic for MVP, historic for the sport as a whole, for us to be able to put on a show of this magnitude with Jake Paul in his 4th year of boxing against Mike Tyson, who is 58 years old, a legend resurrected and a legend born, all in the same night.
"I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt," he said post-fight. It has raised questions regarding the legitimacy of the contest. The former Dallas Cowboys NFL player Michael Irvin is a regular at high-profile boxing events, and he returned to his old stomping ground to watch Tyson's comeback after a near 20-year retirement, and that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.